I've noticed something very subtle but absolutely critical that is happening in the coverage of the Epstein files. More and more headlines are avoiding the words Prince Andrew because, according to the royal family, they said he's agreed not to use the title Prince. Instead, we're seeing Andrew, the Duke of York, or Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. And when I thought about it, I just had this thought. I thought, oh my God, I know exactly what they're doing. Because this is not accidental and it's not accountability. What the family and their advisors are trying to do is something called archive management. So institutions that outlast scandal, they don't just manage people, they manage records. They manage how future historians and journalists and students and the public find information. And one of the most effective tools for doing that is something called linguistic fragmentation. We were told that Andrew not using his title is actually punishment. It's a serious consequence. It's a visible line being drawn. But look at what actually happens over time, because search engines do not understand that context, right? They don't. They understand keywords. Archives do not think morally. They literally catalog what's happening at that time. So when Prince Andrew suddenly becomes Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the historical records will start to split. Because articles do not cluster, associations will weaken, and the scandal will become harder to trace in one clean line. When I had that revelation in the middle of the night, I was like, oh my giddy aunt, that is what they're doing. And for me, that is not justice. That is reputational laundering through language. It means in the future, 100 years, 200 years from now, if anybody tries to look up the scandal, a lot of it may not be associated with Prince Andrew, that particular phrase. And as far as I'm concerned, real accountability changes behavior. It removes access, it invites questioning, and it involves legal scrutiny and not semantic gymnastics. So what Andrew has received is actually linguistic insulation and linguistic protection. Because by downgrading his title in practice, but never removing it in law, the institution protected itself while appearing responsive. The crown, of course, stays clean. The bloodline remains intact. And the scandal is pushed one step further away from the monarchy as a brand. Clever, no? I thought that was clever, actually. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is what they do. And this is the crucial part that many people miss, including me. If the titles were truly the issue, it would have been removed formally, permanently, through Parliament. The royal family would have said, you know what? We want nothing to do with his behavior. Let's go through the proper channels. Their lawyers who are on standby would have been called. Parliament would have been convened. Boom, 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 boom. It would have been done. It would have been done through statute, and there would have been no ambiguity. But that didn't happen, did it? Instead, we had something far more useful to the institution that is obsessed with longevity. And they are right to be obsessed with longevity. We had something called plausible distance. So it's plausible distancing because we've condemned the actions, we've told him not to use his titles, and we've taken him away from his royal lodge, and we've secreted him away somewhere on royal land. Ha ha! Of course, as you know, Andrew still lives, as I said, on royal land. He still benefits from royal privilege, and he still exists inside the ecosystem of the monarchy. Whereas Harry and Meghan, strip, 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 and driven out. And what they've done is that they've just blurred the lines enough to protect the archives. So when journalists are following this naming shift, and they're doing it, I believe some of them unconsciously, some of them because they have orders, they become part of the cleanup process. Not because they are lying, because they're not, because they are working inside a framework that has already been quietly set. So years from now, when researchers are looking at the Epstein scandal, they won't just ask what happened. They'll ask, where is it? We believe he was involved. Where is his name? Right? So they won't be finding Prince Andrew. They'll be seeing AMW, or they'll be seeing Andrew, which could be any other Andrew. And they'll be asking, why are the records scattered? Why are they all over the place? Why is the trail, because obviously there's going to be a trail of some sort. Why is the trail ending abruptly? Why is it not a long, continuous trail? And why does the connection feel very hard to pin? Because, again, to research something like this, you would have been present in this particular time to remember that, oh, he's no longer called Prince Andrew, he is called blah, blah, blah. And that is how power, ladies and gentlemen, hides in plain sight. And it's making me question a lot of historical documents. I'm thinking, is that what truly happened? Because that's one version. Are there other versions of what happened in the past? That's why I'm following things that are happening to Harry and Meghan, to royalty, blah, blah. That's why I follow it closely, because I'm thinking, and this is why I am making my own version as well, because I don't know who's going to see this 100 years from now. And at least they would know there's a different version out there. So power hides in plain sight, not by denying facts, not by disproving allegations, but by renaming, reframing, and redistributing them across time. And that is why the title issue was never really about accountability. It was a reputation control that was sold to Joe and Joanna public like me as consequence. So the victims, in my opinion, deserve justice. The public deserves transparency. And what we got instead was very careful wording, softened metadata, and historical fog. So pay attention to the language, please. I've said this in so many videos. Always pay attention to the language, because that is where the protection lives. My name's Elizabeth. I'm the author of The Luxpreneur. And for more insights like these, please like, share, comment, and follow me. And to support my work, please pick up a copy of The Luxpreneur today, or you can buy me a coffee. If you visit Buy Me a Coffee, you'll find my name, Elizabeth Solaru, and you can buy me a coffee to support my work. Thank you.